Okay, Bruchim Haba, welcome everyone. Okay, so I want to share with you some amazing material on Parashas Toldos. First of all, let's come to the narrative, the episode of Yitzchak Avinu, who comes and he redigs the wells that Avram Avinu dug, and the Plishtim stuff them up, and Yitzchak Avinu is unclogging them. And then the pasuk goes out of its way to say that Yitzchak called them by the names that his father called them. Now, by way of introduction, someone in my shul, my friend Rabbi Yaakov Baim, he asked me, why is it that Abraham's name was changed, Yaakov's name was changed, Yitzchak's name was never changed? Why? Don't you have to have a name change to be one of the avos? That's not one of the requirements? It seems like having your name changed is one of the requirements of being an av. But Yitzchak's name remains the same. So there's an amazing Rabbeinu B'chai in this week's parsha. Rabbeinu B'chai wants to know, why does the Torah emphasize Yitzchak not only redug the well, but he called them by the same names that his father called them? That implies that somehow it is a merit for Yitzchak that he called them by the same names. Rabbeinu B'chai says, "V'kara lohen k'shemois asher kara lohen aviv," and he did it to honor his father. And if the Torah tells this to us, nira shenechashev loy l'zchus, it appears that this will be considered and is considered zechus, and it's a hisayrus, that we should make a kal v'chomer. If when it comes to simple wells, you should not change from the names that your father used, even though it's a innocuous area. And what difference does it make if you change the name? Kal v'chomer, you should not deviate from the path of your forefathers. As Yitzchak Avinu did not even change the names of the wells. Kal v'chomer ledarchei ha'avos u'min ha'goyseim u'musar shalahem. Says Rabbeinu B'chai, ulai mipnei zeh, maybe because of this, Hashem didn't change Yitzchak's name as a merit, as a reward for him being steadfast to minhag avosav, that he didn't change the names of the wells that his father used. He was rewarded mida keneged mida, quid pro quo, measure for measure. That maybe Rabbeinu B'chai says that's why his name wasn't changed. In fact, in the footnotes on Rabbeinu B'chai, he brings the Medrash Hagadol that definitively that's the reason why Yitzchak's name was never changed. Wow. But when my friend asked me this question, I gave a different answer. In other words, Rabbeinu B'chai is saying his name wasn't changed as a reward. And I was thinking, I'm not so sure his name wasn't changed. Because the Yalkut Ruveni brings down in Parshas Shemos that when Klal Yisrael was in Mitzrayim, Hashem wanted to expedite the redemption. Hashem told the Avos, give me a letter of your name and I'll get them out early. So first I want to tell you what the Rush says. The Rush says, why did Klal Yisrael leave 210 years early? Says the Rush, I heard a reason that when we were in Mitzrayim, Hashem said, anyone want to give me some of your name and I'll get them out early? Whatever you give me, the Klal Yisrael will go out early. Avraham and Yaakov said, no, we can't give you any letters. We need them. Yitzchak said, Min Hadin, my name was Yitzchak. Like it says in Divrei Hayamim, like we say by a bris, Ushvu Asai LeYitzchak. By the way, the Imrei Emes says, why by a bris do we say Ushvu Asai LeYitzchak? Why do we say... In other words, twice in Tanakh, Yitzchak's name appears. In Divrei Yomim it says Yitzchak, and in Tehillim it says Yitzchak. Why by a bris do we say Yitzchak? So the Imrei Emes says that every person is given a name at the bris milah. But Hashem told Avram Avinu before the milah to call him Yitzchak. And then he was originally called Yitzchak, like Hashem told him. And at the time of the Milah, he was called Yitzchak because of the tzchaik. That's how he had two names. So by a bris, the Imrei Emes says we call him the name that Avram Avinu gave him at the bris. That means the Imrei Emes seems to be saying he's called Yitzchak when he was born, and at the Milah he was called Yitzchak, which is very interesting. Yeah? In any event, the Lashon of the Rosh is Ribbanu Shel Olam Min Adin, my name should be Yitzchak. And that's how it is in Divrei Hayamim, or I guess in Tehillim. But it says, Am Moichel Amai Kavod, and if you write it Sadi instead of the Shin, so then then Klal Yisrael could leave 210 years early. So in other words, the reason why Klal Yisrael left 210 years early is because Yitzchak gave up 210 points from his name. That being the case, we could analyze, is that true that Yitzchak's name was never changed? Because according to the Rosh, Yitzchak gave up from the Shin and he made it a Tzadi. The way the Imrei Emes says it, his name at birth was Yitzchak, his name at Milah was Yitzchak, and then later on he gave it up. If you look in the Yalkut Ruveni, he says it a bit differently. He says, Avram Avinu says, Hashem, you gave me an extra hay, I'm not willing to give it up, because if you give it up, then it's going to be the way it was originally. Yaakov Avinu says, if I give you the aleph, I'm going to be a heel. I don't want to be a heel. And Yitzchak says, I could give you the yud, because originally it was Yitzchak, and then Yitzchak said, you know what, take the shin and give me a tzadi, and we'll go out 210 years early. So that seems to imply that, in fact, Yitzchak did have a name change. So, does that agree with Rabbeinu Bachaya, or is that another opinion? Or you could say, well, all of this name change by Yitzchak is not recorded in the Chumash. Only the name change of Avraham and Yaakov is recorded in the Chumash. The name change of Yitzchak is not recorded in the Chumash. Be'ezus Hashem, maybe next year, I would like to give a shir, the Wednesday night shir on the following topic. The entire life of Avram Avinu, all of his great achievements are recorded. The entire life of Yaakov is recorded. They each have many parshios. Avraham has Lech Lecha, Vayera, even at the end of Noach. The end of Noach, Lech Lecha, Vayera, and Chayei Sarah. Yitzchak only has Vayera and Chayei Sarah. A little bit of Toldos. You have most of Toldos. Yaakov Avinu has many parshios. He has Toldos, Vayetze, Vayishlach, Vayeshev, Vayigash, Miketz, Vayigash. So why Yitzchak's life is basically not described at all? Why is that? Why is Yitzchak's life not described? As his name change is not described. But again, Rabbeinu Bachaya says the reason for the change of his name is for the simple reason, the reason why his name was not changed openly is because he did not change the names of the wells that Avram Avinu had given.